3. So if Phoenix 1 lose their next match and Immortals end up winning this one, that puts Immortals tied for 4th, right? So now they're in that top 4. They're looking at those spots. So that's just a stone's throw away for Immortals if they can keep this swell up and start actually performing for a consistent basis. And TL, they just need to kind of get themselves out of the bottom.
Yeah, you just got to claw your way out of that pit, and right now in the chaos of the going into the middle of the season is right when teams can start to do that. We're into Champion Select for game number 1, though, with Jace, Malzahar, and Jhin banned off by Team Liquid, while Immortals are responding with the typical red side bans of Camille and Rengar. I have to see what they decide to go for the third. They're thinking about it for an extra second because LeBlanc would be the usual pick here.
Yep.
But with Jhin and Varus being the 2 big AD carries, they may be giving that Varus away for free.
Well, here's the thing. If you don't ban LeBlanc, you can get Kha'Zix, Varus, and then there's also another thing on the table as well with the LeBlanc if you don't. So now Varus banned away. So now Ashe jumps up in priority. LeBlanc, Kha'Zix are all up there now.
So LeBlanc is going to be instantly picked up by Team Liquid. They recognize the opportunity to jump on what is usually a permanently banned champion. We'll have to see what Golden Glue is capable of doing with that this time around. But like you mentioned, Immortals, they've still got the opportunity to pick the Kha'Zix. They could go for the Ashe. Ever since the lethality buffs, we've also been seeing a little bit of Misfortune in the AD carry role again, back from her new support mantra that she's going with these days. So a few different things to go for. And hey, there we go. I didn't even mean to do that, man. My first successful prediction. Look at that. Immortals.
The first one. First one ever?
First. Yeah, oh, yeah, no. I've literally never predicted a champion ever. No, totally.
Oh, man. The bad track record.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would expect that the Kha'Zix comes through here unless they have something else planned and there's a high priority pick. Ryze still on the table as well. The teams have really been loving. Or you could pick a Corki and go up against the LeBlanc, pick a Exhaust. It's something that I thought CLG actually should have done in the previous set, was pick up the Corki instead of the Jace, have mixed damage now. So they have a mixed damage palette. You don't know exactly where the Misfortune is going, but you know that there's going to be a decent amount of magic and physical damage on this team.
And you just immediately called my prediction with a prediction of your own. Back-to-back, we are on fire so far in this champion selection phase as Corki locked in pick number 2 for Immortals, but that leaves Kha'Zix up and available for Team Liquid to decide to grab him for themselves. A lot of damage and assassination potential on the side of Team Liquid with only 2 picks having been locked in so far.
Yep, and then the Ashe is going to get picked up as well because it's just such a high priority now. And Piglet's going to be on that one. So Cody's son, we've seen him play Ziggs. We'll see if he falls back on something else like a Caitlyn or an Ezreal, which is very popular as well, considering when the top tier is out of there.
Or if he's just playing the Misfortune, there is always the opportunity that he could be on.
That's actually a very, very good point. I actually think that's a good point that we definitely can't ignore because it's a flex pick that applies a lot of pressure in the champion select because now, moving into the second part, Team Liquid are like, okay, do we treat Misfortune as a support or do we treat it as if she's an AD carry? Because you could ban Zyra here, and if it's a Misfortune support, it actually meant nothing.
You're just wasting your ban.
Exactly.
And that's a really cool mind game that you can play now with 10 bans being the norm in LCS, is if you pick one of those champions that can play either role, sometimes your opponents are just going to go for a swing and a miss completely on their second part of the bans, and it's like we're back to the old 6-ban system. But the bans coming out from Liquid, it's going to be Lee Sin first. Their opponents responding with top laners Rumble and Shen going to be taken off the table.
Yeah, the Maokai just getting rid of some of those bad matchups for him. The global pressure, the Rumble that Lorlo had played 3 times. Lorlo actually has been playing more carries now, and they haven't been some of the best performances from Team Liquid. His Rumble ultis have been good, but there were too many deaths to really be like, that's an A+ for him or anything like that. Because Lorlo, he was definitely one of the underperformers yesterday.
The final ban for Team Liquid, they're just going to decide, you know what, we're not playing the guessing game on the Misfortune. We're not flipping that coin. 80 carries and supports, completely leave them out. Go for the Graves instead.
Exactly. That's what a lot of teams will do when they play against a team that's flexing so hard, like a Misfortune. Don't ban out support. Wait and see. They're going to last pick something that'll finally give it away, but they go with the guaranteed. You know that jungle hasn't been picked. Regardless of AD carrier support or whatever, jungle is the one thing that you are certain of, so you ban those out.
Hopefully this Elise pick is going to go a little bit better for Dardoch than it did for Inori in the previous series that we saw. A very, very convincing game for FlyQuest over Phoenix 1 in the second match of that series. Inori's Elise not doing what he wanted, not getting the results he was hoping for. Dardoch going to be looking to shape that up a little bit better for himself.
Yeah, and Immortals had commented yesterday that they don't actually mind that Dardoch gets target banned or he gets 4 bans thrown at him and a pick taken away because he's playing things like Warwick, he's playing things like Elise. He's actually freeing up the team to pick priority stuff and flex around by allowing himself to have a deeper pool, access that, and play it with the team.
That's kind of the conversation that I was having with Jat yesterday, where he mentioned that it's kind of strange where you take your star player and you're like, you know, we can give him something that's sort of, not that great. But at the same time, it's a compliment because they're saying, look, we've got so much faith in this guy. We know he's such a capable player that we can put him on something that might be B tier and he's still going to have an A or S tier performance.
Yep, and I think that that's a strength that Immortals are now flexing around, and that is going to be the Misfortune 80 carry, like you had said previously. So good call on that one, too.
We got it, and it's going to be Thresh supporting her, while the last 2 picks on the side of Team Liquid are Nautilus in the top lane and Karma down there on support.
And so, looking at the team compositions, Immortals, mixed damage here. You don't usually have AP damage from your jungle currently. Elise is really only one of the top tier ones that has that. Everybody else is just physical, so now they actually have a good spread here. The high damage AD carry.
Plenty of initiation tools on the side of Team Liquid. You've got Nautilus, who every single ability is some kind of a CC. You've got the Ash arrows, too, if he can find that mark, especially on somebody like a Misfortune. No inbuilt escapes. Granted, there is going to be a Lantern to maybe provide some protection, but there's not something like a Tom Kench there to eat him totally to safety. So there is some real playmaking potential.
Yeah, especially against low mobility champions like the Misfortune and the Elise. But there's some dodges there. Looking at win conditions, it's going to be hard for Golden Glue to get anything done against double exhaust. So if they can end up having a split push strategy turn online for Team Liquid, that could possibly work if they're running teleport with the LeBlanc. Could be a 1-3-1 here that I know Liquid have actually been gravitating towards when they have tank tops with priority like a Nautilus who could just constantly shove out the wave faster than the Maokai. And then they can have a good favorable matchup in the mid lane. Check it right now. Yes, Golden Glue does have teleport, so it will be a teleport LeBlanc looking at a 1-3-1, possibly from TL.
Now, loading into this game, yesterday after the Immortals' victory over Dignitas, we talked to Dardoch a little bit. He was saying that he was excited to play against Reignover because after the performance yesterday by Team Liquid, even though they lost to Cloud9, they put on a much better show doing it. He was saying Reignover is back in form. I'm excited to play against him. This jungle matchup should be pretty good.
Yeah, and Dardoch usually isn't one to give out a whole bunch of high praise, right?
Right.
He's one of the guys that says, okay, you know, I just think this guy didn't play very well, got carried by his team, etc. This season, he's been, he's kind of had to actually say some very positive things about people because of the fact that, he's looking to be less toxic himself. But also, I think that just the jungle in general in NALCS is quite strong with the talent that is currently here. Moon's performing well, Cadian, across the board. So you really do have to be not just like a star player, but a star team player.
You got to give credit where credit is due. If somebody's going off, you pretty much have to recognize that, as now nobody's going to be really looking for anything at the start of game number 1. You can see the 5-point spread coming out from both of these sides. Dardoch going to go ahead and just place a neutral ward there in the river to keep an eye in case Lorlo and Reignover try anything cheeky, but Lorlo will respond with one of his own and just get himself back out of there. Both junglers starting on the top part of the map, which is kind of a change we've seen ever since the 3-second delay on the first camps. Bot laners do not want to be giving that leash, so it kind of just goes to top lane's job.
Yeah, got to get priority in the lane, got to be a little bit further up.
Matt and Piglet deciding to go for a little bit of damage here onto a leg. Going to chunk him down for about 40% there with the Enchanted Inner Flame, along with the volley into the auto attack from Ash, but nothing too crazy onto him, just a little advantage.
Give me more ability names, go!
More ability names, more. That's pretty much all we got to talk about at level 1, man. We're going to be rattling off the entire thesaurus of League of Legends ability names as Pobelter
what was that
eats some damage from the distortion from LeBlanc.
All right. But yes, the fact that he took the teleport in the mid lane for Golden Glue means that if he does get an advantage here, he can go to a side lane and it becomes incredibly annoying to play against. But Corki doesn't always struggle against that as much as most people would think. Auto attacks, he can buy a Hex Drinker, not feel bad about it, get a Maw, has an exhaust himself, and he has the package that is like a pseudo teleport where it can get you from one place to another. So if he's actually just in a side lane against the LeBlanc, it's not awful, right? Right. And so if Immortals can actually be even in that lane, the teleport won't mean as much for Golden Glue.
Now just take a look at the other side of the coin. Corki does feel okay, and comfortable building that Hex Drinker, but at the same time, it's worth it to mention that if he is in a lane where that is required, it's gonna delay that big Trinity Force power spike that Corkis like to grab so they can be that huge mid-game threat. When that package delivery comes, you want it to have a thump behind.
Yeah, I've actually noticed that a lot of mid laners, especially in professional play, will be quite wise about their build path. we would see it all the time where if the enemy locks in Syndra, it's kind of just a tax on your inventory where I gotta buy the Negatron Cloak. It'll be an Abyssal Scepter one day, but I have to buy it. I'll sit on it for a long time. That's fine. And I think that that's kind of the tax that he's willing to pay. Some people against Malzahar would be like, all right, we've got to buy a QSS, inventory tax on that slot, etc. So I think the Hex Drinker isn't awful, like you said. It's just going to delay the build a bit, but mid laners will play around that with their team and wait for the spikes most of the time.
Keystone Masteries at the bottom part of your screen. Worth noting, both top laners have gone for Courage of the Colossus. No grasp, that extra laning capability. And another thing I want to go ahead and point out is Cody Sun's AD carry Misfortune is going to be running Deathfire Touch, so that those big bullet times might be adding a little bit of extra kick to him when he gets them off.
Yep, also the fact that the Q is a single target spell, so it does the full burn, and it has a very good AD ratio on it. I actually think that this is it's interesting because I was doing some math behind it, and Thunderlords is pretty much better at all stages of the game unless you have like 300 plus AD or like 600 AP.
Some really ridiculous number.
Because Deathfire Touch doesn't really scale off of level, whereas Thunderlords does. So you have to keep up in items, but Thunderlords has this extensive cooldown on it. So if you are being like a harassed support in lane, like Misfortune support, you will take the Thunderlords just to chip them out every few seconds, whereas the Deathfire Touch is for Misfortune having some type of fallback in team fights where she can at least still deal consistent damage instead of just being an ulti bot. So Deathfire Touch is for that extra shred, but it's also for the fact that she needs to be able to provide the consistent DPS that most AD carries will offer in fights.
Right, as an AD carry, you can't just pop the bullet time and then say, I hope that was good enough, walk away and rely on the team to do everything
See you 25 seconds later when my Thunderlords is back. Let's go.
Catch you in a while. As Golden Glue is looking to catch Pobelter with some damage here in the mid lane. Takes a nice chunk out of him, but can't really do anything else for the time being. Cody Sun and Olay continually going to be forced back by Matt and Piglet here as they've got total control over this. You can see Olay's health bar never really recovered after that level 1.
He's never been the same. But he is actually looking for Dardoch to come down here. Dardoch has nothing on the bottom side, so if you're just looking at the minimap, you can kind of read that he wants to gank bot. He has mobility boots. If you get him in, he's just way faster than the lane opponent.
He's trying to get there if he can. Olay looking for something, but not able to get there in time.
Yeah, that's interesting that he wasn't lanterned in or anything like that. It was possibly for if he was going to engage really hard and it gets turned, he saves the lantern for the escape.
Some kind of a save, right? They're saying we don't know exactly where Rainover is. Maybe he shows up, it's 3v3. We have to have some kind of an escape pattern, but of course, because they go for that, they aren't able to make the play to begin with. Olay forced to go back to base. Desynchronized backs between himself and Cody Sun, so Cody's going to be enjoying the ever so fun experience of the 1v2 until Olay can come back and give him some relief.
Fun. But the problem here is the back timers from TL get to be synergized, they get to do it at the same time, and now there'll be a little bit of a gap where Cody Sun has to clear this minion wave out. Olay will now roam. He gets to have a few seconds where he can either make a 3-on-1 play, ward the river, which you will typically do after your first back, whether you put your control ward down in the bush and try to get control of mid on the side. This is a little bit of an opportunity for Olay that can't be matched. But issue is if nothing gets accomplished, then Cody Sun will get 2-on-1, and oh, really nice hawk shot there.
Hawkshot immediately discovering exactly what sort of nefarious tricks these guys are up to.
That's actually a super cool route for the Hawkshot too, because it went through his red and it went down the right side of mid. So it actually went through the area that first back supports and professional play will run that route and then put down a pink ward in the middle. But hold on.
Dardoch doing a good job stealing away that Wraith, but what else is going to be going down? Looks like the answer is Olay's health bar barely getting away, but it's actually going to be Rainover killed first. First blood to Dardoch. Pobelter almost going to be taken down next. Matt's the double kill.
Orlo's here.
Immortals are finding success so far. Piglet looking to flash forward and make the move happen. Instead, he flashes right into certain death. Olay goes down, but it's a triple for Immortal.
And Lolo keeps running forward. He's caught out.
He's big, but he's not big enough. You're not going to survive that 1 versus 4 Immortals with a 4-1 lead off of that fight.
Dardoch doesn't get the quadra, but you know what? It's actually probably better that he didn't. They give it to the top laner. They give it so that the tree isn't too much worse for wear, having to blow both of his summoner spells to get there, get involved, and so he'll be up in gold in that top lane matchup, which could provide him with a pressure advantage. This was Dardoch reaching forward, gets out. Olay, though, honestly, the fact he survives here and it takes the Nautilus ultimate to kill him is huge. Matt gets caught up there. Piglet's a little bit later. Pobelter gets over the wall, and now they're just out there. That is insane. Piglet has to extend here since he chooses not to back up to the left. He says, I'm not going to take this 1 or 2 for 0 trade. I'm actually going to walk forward, and that costs 4 people's lives for 1.
And it all started over a stolen chicken. Sometimes it's the butterfly effect, man. The smallest things can make the biggest differences in life and in League of Legends. And we just saw it demonstrated there in the Team Liquid jungle as Immortals now with an almost 1,500, a little bit more clean way to say it, gold lead over their opponents just 8 minutes in. They are feeling so good about that one.
They have to be feeling really good about that one because Immortals on the upswing like we were saying, but also Dardoch, he's personally got to feel really good about that too, because it has been the Dardoch show for a little while. Started to turn around yesterday, and I was talking to him and having a conversation on Twitter, and he was saying that he feels really, really good about what happened this week. 'Cause now everybody in Immortals has their own responsibilities and what they need to do. So if something goes wrong in communication, you could be like, hey, you weren't doing this specifically, let's up that, right? And they can actually fix those problems where Flame teleports, talking about team fights. Cody Sun is very vocal about what he needs to do in the fight, and the peel he needs in Pobelter.
Oh, missed trench line. Lorlo with a really costly mechanical failure. Cocoon's going to be finding him now. The burst coming through. Lorlo is not tanky enough to survive much more of this, and Pobelter grabs number 5 for Immortals.
Sometimes that hitbox just is really thin and gets by the wall. Sometimes it's just you go 1 foot because you're up against it. Lorlo there. Ooh.
I don't even think that was 1 foot. Dude moved 2 inches. And then all he didn't have his cooldown anymore. He didn't have any way out, and the immediate response from Dardoch and Pobelter was more free money in Immortals' pockets.
Oh yeah, walking bags of gold right now is what TL are, because Immortals are starting to farm them. They've got control of the bottom side. They're looking to try and get that bottom turret and the Mountain Drake. It's kind of a process now that they have winning mid lane. You have winning jungle. Jungle gets to go wherever he wants. I assume that Mountain Drake is in their future. After a clear and a back, I believe, he would go to Mountain Drake. They have control, don't want to lose control.
The LeBlanc clone kind of wandering around the jungle.
Scouting.
I was actually looking at the minimap. I was like, wait, what champion is that icon? I was like, wait a second, that's a reversed black and white LeBlanc. I don't feel so bad about failing to recognize it now, but just trying to see what he can find there, keeping an eye on Dardoch.
They see Rainover, though. Speaking of keeping an eye on someone.
Rainover trying to use the blast cone to get himself away. A nice escape over the wall. Those blast cones are so tricky. There's so many plays that previously in any other season of League of Legends, you'd be like, I shouldn't be here. But now that we've got blast cones, the sky's the limit.
It really is. And just as a Skarner main yourself, I would think that the blast cones are just something that you love. Getting over walls for the first time in your life.
It's a brand new experience. A brand new experience as Team Liquid maintains some control over this bottom part of the river, looking to at least prevent some of that dragon taking capability you were talking about earlier. Rainover and Golden Glue looking to pick it up for themselves.
Yeah, so it's not control here for Immortals. Instead, it's TL. They're going to pick it up, or at least try to here. No contest unless Olay comes over.
There's a lot of pings coming out from Immortals onto this. I don't think they want to give it away without some kind of a fight. Olay in the pit looking to make the play. Dardoch can't get there in time. Rainover's out over the wall, but Immortals will make it at least somewhat costly, burning down Matt.
Yeah, and that, went for the
another play, flash into the cocoon. Piglet in some trouble, plays coming down, and Cody Sun grabs the kill.
Yeah, the fact they got all those flashes early on, they can just abuse that. Dardoch comes back, and he just uses his flash. Piglet doesn't have his. Few second difference between those timers. Boom, another kill falls over to Immortals, 7-1, and it's only 11 minutes in.
Dardoch's not even happy with that. He's going further into enemy territory.
Yeah, steal it all.
This is really ruthless play from Dardoch.
Well, you can't be nice in the jungle, especially right now with spawn timers having been boosted up and being longer between camps. You take those camps away, the jungler almost has nothing to do, and if you're more powerful than them, your ganks are just more potent, you're better. It's going to push him off of the chickens. Get him again.
Chicken control is the name of the game right now for Dardoch. The man is doing an exceptional job at it as the bottom lane for Immortals, controlling that area well for themselves, putting a lot of damage into the turret. That tier 1 going to be taken pretty close, but not yet.
And did you know historically, Dardoch has only ever won a single game against Rainover? He's not won a match.
Really?
A single game.
Well, Immortals is on a good start to changing that here today. 3,500 gold lead, 12 minutes in. Pobelter immediately responding with some damage onto Golden Glue. Bullet time going to be used by Cody Sun there as they get themselves away. They had Dardoch hanging around down there, but they decided they don't really want to do anything with it. Pobelter and Golden Glue, again, just the fighting is non-stop between these two. The rockets are going to continue firing off as he has to valk himself away from them.
Still has Hex Drinker.
Golden
There's
Glue
gone.
looking to make some kind of a move. Exhaust comes down. Golden Glue does not want to chase this one any further with no mana. And Pobelter walks away.
Doesn't use his flash there either, just walks away. The Hexbringer just bursts out. Dardoch can get some chip damage. Oh my god, chunk damage.
That's not a chip. That's a big old brick of damage right into Rainover's health bar. Loses over half of it.
Look at
As
that.
Flames looking for turret first blood in the top side. Grabs that one for himself and his team and builds that gold lead up to 4.5k.
That's crazy. The Maokai getting that turret top solo. Lorlo had roamed twice, and hold on, they're picking on Rainover. They're trying to actually just catch him out.
They're looking for him again. A nice flay. Rainover going to be forced to flash out. Cody's son looking to grab some extra damage here. Immortals cannot quite find their man, but they scare him all the way out as Pobelter accidentally eats the arrow in mid lane.
But they're still going to get control of that left side jungle. That's the blue buff taken away. That's those wolves not being able to be picked up just yet. And Rainover has to go to the right side of the jungle now, pick up his red buff, and that's pretty much all he gets here. So Dardoch outpacing him. The team is now playing around Dardoch because he got such an enormous lead at the beginning of the game.
3-0 and 4 on this Elise so far. The Runic Echoes with the Skirmisher Saber fully completed.
Yeah, and I love that he has a Dark Seal on top of it. The Dark Seal efficiency is actually ridiculous. When people talk about Dark Seal, they're like, oh, it's a bit risky item, right? Actually, when you buy the item, it's stat efficient by itself, and then it actually only sells back and you lose 105 gold total. For context, when you buy a Doran's Ring and sell it, it's about 240 gold that you lose. So buying a Dark Seal is pretty much like, would you buy a Control Ward? Yeah, I would buy a Control Ward, put it down, and it gets instantly cleared. It's a 105 gold difference between the two teams. That's a really easy pickup. If you get kills, snowballs the item. If you don't, you just sell it back.
No real risk for the reward that could potentially be the payoff here for Dardoch. He's already got 3 stacks of glory on it, some extra AP under his belt, which helps contribute to that massive amount of burst that you saw him land onto Rainover there in the mid lane. Rainover, normally the predator in the jungle, the guy who's looking for the kills, but he's kind of got to be the one who's aware of exactly what he's walking into if he gets too close to that spider.
Ooh, speaking of not getting close to that spider, that haunting guys already, getting the magic penetration, trying to just bully Rainover out of the jungle. That's honestly what he is trying to accomplish here, is just take over the jungle, make sure this Kha'Zix does not get to a point where he feels like he has any control in this game, and just put Rainover behind, keep him behind.
Immortals now with a 5,000 gold lead 15 minutes into the game. We want to see them make something of this. 5K is an awesome lead at this point in time, but you've got to be able to turn that into objectives, put your guys where they need to be, and really turn that into more. Make that lead be something that chokes your opponents out of the game, puts you in an even better spot as time goes on.
Yeah, and now's definitely the time to do it with item disadvantages on the opponent's side. Immortals, you can see Yomu's Ghostblade completed bottom. Looks like Dardoch wants to make a visit here because that bottom turret, not very healthy for either team. So if you can just knock this one over, make sure that they have to spend so much to just get a little bit more damage on your own turret to take it down later.
Both junglers will be hanging around, sort of reading what's going to be happening here.
Mid laners are hanging around in the fog of war right now.
Dardoch not going to be getting his cocoon onto Matt. Backs himself away. Rainover is going to be doing the same as they both realize they've been found out. Drake will be live in about 45 seconds. Second one is going to be Cloud. Liquid got the first one. They paid for it with their support. Immortals should feel very comfortable about taking control over the area and grabbing that this time around.
They just need to open up that bottom here, and Ole going for the play.
Ole looking to make the play. Here comes bullet time. Piglet is going to be absolutely eviscerated by that damage. Dardoch still looking to make it too. Cocoon will not find its shot. Instead, Dardoch going to be forced to flash back.
He's feeling himself today. Dardoch's like, I got it. I can get this guy. Blows his flash to get out afterwards after missing, but it doesn't matter. They get the turret mission accomplished.
They get the turret. They've got control over the area for Drake that's going to be spawning in 10 seconds. Pobelter's having to run away from Rainover, who comes in and looks to find the burst. The exhaust is used. Pobelter stays alive, and the response from Liquid is underwhelming.
Yep, and they're going to lose so much that bottom tier 2 turret. There's going to be lots of waves just crashing against it. Mid lane, it's not even going to be comparable in the CS that's lost there. And now, this bottom lane is shoved so far in that Drake priority goes over to Immortals. They have the inside track on it now. And it just looks like Scuttlecraft is probably going to be taking a really good play from Ole. The team is just on the same page now. The Immortals are actually playing like a well-oiled machine.
And that was through both summoner spells of Piglet, too. Heal and Flash both used, and he still loses. It's a rough situation to be in.
Damage. Love to see what Cody's son has done so far in terms of this game in damage, because this Misfortune, it actually does a lot. If you can actually set up the bounces as well, It's not just the ultimate that shreds people.
And this is kind of the reason this champion's coming back into popularity as an AD carry, the whole lethality thing, right? The new trend with how strong lethality is. Ashe with this crit build just feels like she's not anywhere near that power level.
Yeah, and something I noticed with like a lot of the lethality builds and why they're so effective is they're the spell casting AD carries, but also some of them are the ones that have automatic crits on their kit, where Jhin has an automatic crit. Lethality is really good for him because you're automatically getting the value of not having to buy a crit item. Misfortune actually has automatic crits on her bounces. If she gets a Q and it hits the person, it can actually chunk them out very heavily. But it's her ultimate is the big one there.
Now Cody's son and Olay have decided to rotate themselves mid lane, and Rift Herald is going to be taken by Immortals.
All right, who's taking this? Is it Maokai or is it Elise? Place your bets.
Somehow I feel like this isn't a very even bet. I feel like Elise is probably going to be given this thing.
I don't know.
We'll see. I mean,
it's
to be
Flame.
fair, I guess Flame. It is Flame.
Hey!
Okay, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I was putting all my money on Elise. I was like, this is going to be extra burst. The spider bite's going to sting like hell. And like, nope. Flame got the first turret. He deserves the honors. He's going to be picking up that Rift Herald. But this is interesting because yesterday, for those of you who did not watch Immortals versus Dignitas, Immortals also got Rift Herald in those games.
Yeah, it's really strange that people are actually getting the Rift Herald, but the Rift Herald goes over when there's really nothing else to do in those moments. They have about a minute before it despawns. They could have possibly been defending bottom, but they were already swapping into a 1-3-1 formation. Flame bot with TP, put the Corki top, and then have your AD carry, support, and jungler hang around mid. So they were already formation swapping. They just said, this is the time to get Rift Herald if we're ever going to get it, and we can sacrifice bottom turret for a 20-minute buff.
And when you get it that late into its lifetime, when you get it at the 19-minute mark, that means it's going to be on that Maokai till 39 minutes. So the entirety of the mid game and a good while even into the late game, Maokai's going to be using that.
Yeah, a lot of these games don't end up going 39 minutes. So.
Right.
And the pace that this one is on with a 6,000 gold lead in favor of Immortals already, it's looking pretty dire. Dardoch picking up even more in terms of AP. And that's burst too. The auto attack on top of it, up.
All right, that's just the clone. No worries there.
That was interesting. The clone kept walking in place after it got hit by
that was a really wonky animation.
Maybe you can tell. We'll see.
Flame getting himself in a spot where he does not want to be. Gets pulled to safety by Olay's Lantern. The inner flame comes out, but the turret goes down, and Immortals have taken down all three of that outer ring. Now they've got a little bit more freedom to move up into enemy territory, put some more wards down, gain more control over the map, and continue to choke Team Liquid out.
Yep, hitting big power spikes too. The Trinity Force came out. Sunfire Cape top lane, so extra shoving power, and Edge of Night for Cody's son. He's at those two lethality items. Can't really be caught out as easily now by a LeBlanc or an Ashe Arrow. And the Black Cleaver, I assume, is next to just deal with Lorlo and add so much extra damage here. And that's the thing is, the way that lethality and armor penetration works is you'll lower the person's armor first, and then you'll just do the flat afterwards.
Yeah.
So you're actually penetrating more overall because of that.
When the stats work like that, there's no reason not to go for something like the Black Cleaver. It just synergizes so well with the champion, so well with the ability. And if that lands properly in a team fight onto multiple people, it's just GG. Everybody's kind of grouping up for a good old-fashioned ARAM at the time being, though. Mid laners are going to be off to the side. Teleport available on everybody in the game that has a teleport to use. Golden Glue's got his, Lorlo and Flame as well. Package also up and running on Pobelter for a few more seconds. Going to expire very, very soon, though, so he's got to find somewhere to drop this off. And it's going to be on that brush.
That's how you check the bush. Just do it, walk back, clean up the ward. But yeah, a lot of the times the other team will play very passive when the package is up if they're conscious of it. Otherwise, they just get slaughtered. So he's playing to the bottom side of the map now. And they're going to go for bottom control here. Flame will be the split pusher on the top side. And they actually do have bottom control. There's actually no vision here. They know it because they ended up sweeping both areas. You can see Dardoch just went off a cooldown.
Blue Trinket's going to spot Olay out. He's the only one they saw. They know that he's hanging around there.
Yep.
Not exactly aware of what Dardoch is doing.
Flame is out of position.
Flame being caught out right now by Rainover and Lorlo. Arrows coming in from Piglet as well. Nautilus ultimate used here onto the Maokai, but there's that bullet time off talking about Cody Sun! A killing spree over the wall as Golden Glue's looking to find the follow-up. Flame now going right back into the fight. The glimpse of the void provides the extra burst, and it's 2-for-0 Immortals.
And Immortals just have so much power behind them right now. They can go for that mid-tier 2. Pobelter didn't even have to join that fight. He is bottom, actually just working on that turret, trying to accelerate this gold lead, and it's going to be about 10,000 at 23 minutes.
Talk about momentum. That was awesome for Immortals. They take down 2 different tier 2 turrets, and now they've only got 1 left to take before they have to start working on the enemy base. This is the definition of first world problems.
I have all this gold I don't know what to do with, but Immortals are going to put it to use here. Flame, it takes him a long time to be like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm not going to go over the wall. I'm baiting them towards Cody Sun. Golden Glue goes in the back, gets exhausted. Olay is on peel duty, and then the LeBlanc no longer can get in. The hook actually still lands on him off on the side, and they were able to just collapse. The LeBlanc was too busy, and that was a 4-on-5. Oh,
now Piglet in some real danger. The cocoon comes out and Piglet goes down. Cody's Sun making some kind of a move, but Liquid is on Baron. It's not going down incredibly fast though. Down to about 4K. Immortals is going to be looking to cut these guys off. Even if they grab it, they're likely going to be taking some losses on the way out. Golden Glue trying to get over the wall. Rainover's already gone. Golden Glue is just completely destroyed. Matt looking to find the back. The rockets from Pobelter are going to be interrupting some of these backs. Lorlo and Rainover still hanging around. Lorlo, the TP gets canceled. He's not going to be doing anything. Rainover's bug gets squashed. And Lorlo is trying to slowly lumber and stomp his way out of the fight, but he's not going anywhere today. Cody Sun dominating.
Yep, the chase there from TL, right on point, able to actually have enough movement speed and gap closers to make sure the recalls can't come through. Lorlo also, teleport doesn't go through either, and they blow so much. TL actually only have Baron on Matt. They got the money, they gave up 4 kills, but it ends up not being worth it at the end of the day unless Matt can do something with this Baron buff, because they go over, Blast Cone, Matt makes it out because he immediately starts his recall. Pobelter goes over the wall there, and that's the thing, if Pobelter goes over the wall there and they actually tried to recall in that bush, maybe that's where you turn onto Pobelter, but he did still have exhaust.
Lorlo didn't have his TP get canceled. He manually canceled.
Yeah, he stopped it. He was like, okay, we're turning, but that wasn't the moment to turn. So this looks like TL with a lot of hesitation behind them. From the beginning of the game, it seems like Lorlo, in particular, has been overreaching a lot, and the calls have been really scattered.
11,000 gold, almost the lead for Immortals 25 minutes into this game. There's almost nothing you can do about that from Team Liquid's point of view. You're pretty much crossing your fingers, hoping for some kind of an insane throw at this point, because Immortals have built themselves such an enormous advantage that there's almost no angle, no strategy that you can craft that puts you in a spot where you can still win a fight.
Yep, comes down to unforced errors and stalling out the game. We've seen already a stall today from FlyQuest, down 8 turrets to 0. But Immortals...
That's FlyQuest. That's what they do all the time. That's like that's their trademark. That's their thing.
Olay, no fear.
Rainover still hanging around. Flay going to be coming out. Rainover jumping away. Pobelter grabbing a killing spree onto Piglet in the meantime, just off to the side by himself. He's got Flame coming around to help him with that flank. This final tier 2 is not going to be standing for long. A 4 versus 5. The gravity of the situation right now for Team Liquid for the next 25 seconds. Golden Glue jumping back towards mid lane to try to stop this push. A 3-2 split right now. Not the most common thing in the world to see, but it's working pretty effectively for Immortals as Pobelter getting himself back from those chains. Mid lane inhibitor turret going to be going down. Matt is tied up. More damage coming in. Proto Belt Burst going to be flying all over the place. Up into the air they go. They're trying to find the damage onto Golden Glue. Rainover's already gone. The mid lane inhibitor is toast. And Immortals are looking to close this one out real quick. Dardoch leading the charge into the top side as well. Inhibitor number 2 going to be dropping just as fast as the first one did. Immortals, a little bit more damage. They'll take that when they'll get out, and they are just primed to end this game on the next push.
This has been an incredible game so far from Immortals in terms of control. The one mistake from TL at the very beginning really just opened the game up. And you saw Dardoch, he's even just like, first back, mobility boots. Let's go, get in these fights. And Piglet, he was just back in there. Gets caught out, backing. It seems like something is up right now because he's 0-6, and it just seems like he's a little bit not present at the moment.
Only 1 kill for all of Team Liquid over the last 27 minutes. And it was the one kill they got onto Olay at that very first chicken fight that made it so that they were so far behind. That massive 4-for-1 to start the game off. Things couldn't be much worse for Team Liquid right now. They're still doing everything they can to hold on, but they've got 2 lanes of super minions pouring into the base. They've got the rest of Immortals, who, by the way, currently command a 14,000 gold lead, marching down the remaining lane, looking to end this game.
Yeah, this is ridiculous because super minions just do so much physical damage on auto attacks that you really just have to let them crash into your base when you're at this point in the game. You don't have enough magic damage on Golden Glue to clear them out. You don't have enough wave clear in general on TL's team to really clear them out, and Golden Glue wants to go for flanks.
Immortals now continuing this push. Phosphorus Bomb's going to be flying. Dardoch hanging around the side in case Golden Glue does want to get a little bit brave and come around there for that. He would have to find just the absolute perfect angle onto Cody's Sun. I don't even think Pobelter's going to be perfect angleable because he has that Hex Drinker, because the exhaust also available for himself. Immortals continuing to push up. Pobelter vouching himself to safety. Lorlo's going to be pulled in. The Death Sentence
Flame Monitor
flash away. Flames right back into the mix, but he gets himself out with the Lantern. Olay, come right on back, buddy. As Immortals now pushing onto that turret. Liquid has been pushed back for the moment, but no minions means no dice. Golden Glue going to be forced to rotate right back to the Nexus, trying to keep those turrets alive, but the minions are laying a walloping on them.
Minion gets that one and they engage.
Here comes the Immortals' final assault. Matt's going to be burned away. Piglet 2, unstoppable for Pobelter. Lorlo's a tank, but what are you going to tank when they're that far ahead? Godlike for Cody's Sun. Rainover goes down next. Golden Glue's got no choice but to watch the rest of the base fall apart. He tries to make a valiant last stand. He grabs Cody. He doubles his team's kill count, but it's not gonna matter. Immortals with game number 1.
That game, oh boy. So clean from Immortals. That was systematic destruction of TL.
That was perfect from Immortals. Well, nobody plays a perfect game, but that was a damn fine game of League of Legends from the Immortals squad.
KT played one last night, man. I'm just, no. But the interesting thing here is that was Immortals firing on all cylinders, every player stepping up. Like, this is probably going to be like the hardest player of the game that we've ever had to decide, because it's like, who really gets that? Because Dardoch was big, pivotal in a lot of that. Cody's Sun with the ultis over the wall. Olay with the constant hooks. First bait, very first fight was big, really big part of that. And then everybody really contributing on top of it. It's like, that's rough, because that looked like Immortals that was really clean.
That was a huge team effort, and it goes right back to what you were saying at the start of this. It's not the Dardoch show.
Nope.
Everybody in Immortals is working together as just this insane unit that knows exactly what they got to be doing, and they're working together to accomplish that. Phenomenal job played by them so far.
Yeah, and that's what blows my mind as well, because when I thought about Immortals and I thought about their performances, I'm like, Dardoch is just overreaching every single time. The Lee Sin Q's under turret, trying to dive, trying to get kills. Like, it was too desperate, and that was an Immortals that immediately they got a hold of the game off of a really good play. That was not just one person, it was team coordinated there as well. And then they said, okay, you guys are the desperate ones, and we're just going to keep going.
And they never lost that lead. There was never a point where it's like, man, Immortals got that 4-1, but what happened? It was always just nonstop from start to finish for these guys. We're going to go ahead and throw things over to the analysts to see what they make of that Immortals win.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Immortals here with the victory, a very dominant victory over Team Liquid. Got to welcome Kobe to the desk. Hopefully you can help us make some sense of these two teams and their journeys here.
Right in time.
Yeah, right? Hopefully you've got some insight to bring along here, because Immortals in particular, a performance like that, looking as dominant as it is, you'd almost be ready to say after their victory last night, oh, hey, they might be back, right? But do we need to couch some of that? Do we need to temper a little bit of that because of the way in which that lead was accumulated?
I do definitely, take that with a grain of salt. One of the things you were looking at when we were talking previously was about these are the two worst early game teams, and a lot of it came from this snowball of that mid jungle fight where they kind of got caught off guard, but Pobelter arrives first, and there are some mistakes from Team Liquid that allow them to get this good gold lead. For their benefit, though, we definitely need to say that they really ran with that lead once they got it.
Yeah, I mean, that's an aggressive move, invade there from Immortals into the blue side jungle.
But look at that, Pobelter right over the wall. He's the one who had a whole bunch of burst, and he adds his exhaust summoner spell that he's bringing to this. Then Lorlo hooks into that wall there, so Nautilus isn't really able to be a big factor, whereas Flame actually got in there and got the extra kill for them. So they are able to come out away with pretty slim margins and not drop people here, and a very large gold lead for how early in the game this actually took place.
Right, and I think it's important to note that like the invade that they actually went for was not the safest invade. The fact that they were basically outnumbered early, LeBlanc moved over first. Team Liquid just had a horrible time focusing fire on anybody, so a number of people were limping out at 100 health or something like that. And obviously Immortals played it well enough that they were able to clean up kills. And
right.
I mean, that's kind of the story of the game when you have two weaker early game teams. If one manages to grab a lead, these teams are not great at fighting back.
Exactly that. As you mentioned, the two worst early game teams averaging, 1,100 down at 15 minutes and 1,500 down at 15 minutes, respectively, between these two squads. Well, okay, now when I have a 7K gold lead at 15 minutes from Immortals, it's pretty much a no-brainer on how to close the game. Now, they did do it with very few mistakes, so we'll give them credit where credit is due there. But I think the big thing is we need to be able to see them establish leads consistently. Because, of course, okay, they win the game where they get a giant lead, but are they going to continue to get leads?
And to me, the best thing for Immortals in this game, it does look like their communication that they were so happy about, and the team, they're putting so much into this, so much effort in rebuilding, because all these guys have been on failing rosters before, and they've been on teams where the teams have a lot of infighting before, but the communication is improving. With that comes everybody joining this team fight very early on,
right.
And they did get a lot of advantage out of that. So those are the building blocks that they are improving, and like you said, that's what you're looking for with this team. So there are positive trends.
Right, and it's not just like Pobelter and Dardoch are talking more. I was sitting in the audience last night watching them play, and then Flame was talking a ton. He actually does a lot of the shot calling for the team. So the fact that everyone's stepping up, it's not just, okay, Dardoch's good in the early game and he's taking a bigger voice, it's other people are stepping up as well.
And player of the game is going to go to Dardoch this time around, but what I want to focus on here with him is once again we see him targeted in bans. He goes onto that Elise. He's very comfortable. So Immortals heavily relying on Dardoch's kind of diversity and strength as a player in order to secure better champions and better matchups for the rest of his teammates, maybe making them more comfortable.
Yeah, he's definitely able to play with an advantage. This guy, so often we'll see mobility boots, Elise, AP get a lot of criticism because people take it, they go super aggressive, they give up one kill or something, and it starts to go the other way.
Yeah.
But he absolutely ran over them, getting the early mobility, going with the extra damage, and definitely deserved it, yeah.
And just to turn a little bit around onto TL here, I think you have to criticize them because you don't have to get blown out that hard off a bad early game fight like that. Like it is hard to play from behind, but they have people just getting picked off all the time in like random positions, and they don't seem to once they get a little scatterbrained, it seems like that's it. Like they don't regroup well.
Well, very much so. I mean, positioning was definitely an issue in that early fight. We saw Piglet, who, kind of roaming up. All of a sudden, he got sandwiched and didn't really have anywhere to go. But it's good to see Immortals craft a victory from that lead. The question is, can they do it from a place of, being in an even matchup or at a deficit even and claw back into it? Like, for example, we saw FlyQuest do earlier today. Going into game 2 here, on the side of Team Liquid, what's the solution? How do you solve this? Because you got LeBlanc, Kha'Zix, Ashe in your first rotation of your pick ban phase. If anything, when we were looking at this pick ban, we were saying not a very strong one from Immortals and a very solid one from Team Liquid in terms of, the final composition. And they couldn't use it to the fullest effect.
I personally don't think they play the meta stuff very well. I think all season they've been struggling. Like, Matt doesn't look good on Zyra or Malzahar. I don't think Golden Glue looks good on a couple of the OP mids and things like that. The only person who seems to play the meta well is Reignover a little bit, and even then he's a little shaky, and then maybe Lorlo. So, when they're leaving up these OPs and you're like, yeah, we got LeBlanc and Kha'Zix and Ashe, it's like, two of those you don't even play that well, most likely. So I think if they can, now they're on the red side, do that really OP targeted heavy ban phase on the red side, maybe that helps them out more, but I don't know.
So I had a lot of positive takeaways from Team Liquid's loss to Cloud9 just last night, very recently. The thing is, those were all on a very similar set of compositions, right? The champions that you're talking about, Piglet on the Varus with these cool flash forward ultimates,
Rumble,
and then Reignover with the Graves, farm style, control heavy style. These are the types of things that were getting them those advantages. Even putting Lorlo on the Rumble so he can clear waves from far away when he has to play defensively and stuff. Those are the types of things that you want to carry over from last night, because there were some good things for Team Liquid fans to hold on to, even in that loss.
Right.
But in this first game, they kind of steered away from that type of stuff. So maybe
that's the thing. Maybe
that.
game 2, we see Team Liquid kind of revert back to what was working for them last night. Only time will tell. We'll see if Team Liquid can even up the score when we come back with game 2 against Immortals. You're watching the North American LCS.